The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
In the darkness lies the unknown.
Step outside of your comfort zone. See the world with a whole new perspective. Join us and experience the unexplained on the Paranormal View.
And welcome everybody right here to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight, those here in the chat room and those listening from around the world. We appreciate each and every one. Got a great show lined up for tonight, and they're saying they don't hear anything. Can you hear anything in the chat room now? I don't see anybody typing. Oh, okay. Tabby Cat said she can, so it's going in. I want to thank you. Tonight we got a great show lined up, and I am sure there's going to be a ton of questions on this and a lot of laughter. So with that, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's see, Jeff, you got the intro?
Yep. Tonight's guests are Mack Maloney and Juan Juan, a native of Boston, a graduate of Emerson College. Mack Maloney has written more than 60 novels, including military thrillers, men's action adventures, science fiction, and historical fiction. He created the long-running Wingman series, and 1 million copies sold. For 3 years, Mack was a columnist for Turner Broadcasting's TrueTV.com conspiratorium website, and he has also worked as a consultant on a company working for U.S. government on anti-terrorist programs. And Juan Juan has a degree in computer science, a BA in business science, and is the owner of Gabriel IT Consulting. And he is the technical expert for Mack Maloney's Military X-Files online radio show. Juan Juan is a U.S. Navy veteran, worked in anti-submarine warfare operations, and was posted in the U.S. base of Guantanamo Bay. So welcome, Mack Maloney and Juan Juan.
Thank you very much for that introduction.
Thank you. If I could just say one thing, you might want to talk to my twin brother, Mack Maloney. This is Matt.
Oh my God. I've been looking at it saying Mac, and I'm saying Mark. I'm terribly sorry.
Well, he said both.
That's his resume.
He said both, I think.
He's just covering all the bases.
My evil twin.
Well, I just thought, Mac might be Boston for Mark.
Oh, wow. We're going to start.
See, here we go, the Boston accent stuff.
Really.
The Boston accent.
37 seconds in.
I don't have an accent, so that leaves me out.
But we're happy to be here.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Happy to be anywhere, for that matter.
I know I've got your book, Haunted Universe, and I believe Tabby Cat does too. But you've got a whole bunch of other books that I'd like to get some of them later and have you on talking about them too.
Sure.
I know going through this book, there was some things in there that that I was reading that I hadn't heard about. And I live in Ohio now, but I lived in North Carolina for about 20 years. And I never heard of the thing called the poop monster.
Wow, you missed out. I never heard of it either until we were doing the research. But there was some kind of creature in the sewers down there that was like a conglomeration of all really kind of icky stuff, and seemed to have some kind of a mind of its own or whatever. It was probably something like a snake that had stuff all over it or whatever. But they looked extensively for it. They never quote unquote caught it. But I think that was in the section where it's like one weird story from every state in the union or something.
Wow.
But you want to hear the true story about that book real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm more interested in the stuff in it. that was supposed to be, originally that was supposed to be a book about what it would be like to put on a radio station, radio show for a year. You know what I mean? Because with all the ups and downs and all the stupid things that happened to us, I thought if I compiled them, it would be about the show. So, but then when I said that to the publisher, he wasn't too keen on that idea. So I had all this kind of leftover weird stories and stuff. I've been collecting them for years. And then we did some more research and we put them together. And that's what turned out to be The Haunted Universe. However, you can see that the foreword was written by Juan Juan, correct?
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. He has never read it.
Oh, you should.
I've read most of it.
Most of it. It's like 3 paragraphs long. So he's read 2 paragraphs of it.
There's a long story about that, but
Yeah.
he's right. I haven't read it cover to cover.
You haven't even read the foreword you were supposed to have written.
Yes, I did.
Oh, dear God. Come on. All right, we better move on before he goes nuts.
I have a reprint of it. It's framed in my room.
Yeah, but
So who ghost wrote it?
I wish I had a ghost writer, to tell you the truth. A friend of mine, Mark Zapula, who's on the show every once in a while, is the very famous author, and he and I are working on a project later on in the year. But he helped put, some of the stories together. But it was basically just, I had boxes and boxes of all these very weird stories, and I said, why not put them together? And I like books like that where it's not too extensive. It's just enough to, give you say what the heck is going on here, and then go on to the next one, So I'm glad I did it, but it took some doing to put all that together.
Well, it's a great book from the sense that you can pick it up, pretty much flip to any page and just start reading.
Yep.
And that's really nice because you're not too in depth in it that you can't put it down and pick it up later.
Right. It's a little bit of like a Ripley's type of a format. Ripley's, believe it or not, they'd be short stories, and
it is.
You can pick it up anywhere and just read them, So
now I know.
Where did you get your research from for each each individual state? Because when you wrote about the Goat Man in Maryland, that's where I'm from, and I lived not much more than like 4 miles away from where the legend originally started.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I was never afraid of the idea of going into that area. Even at night. I used to ride my motorcycle through those roads, even at night.
Oh,
I never thought anything of it. But yeah, it's been around for a long time. And as far as I know, people, especially boys, are still scaring their girlfriends into cuddling at the idea of getting the Goat Man after them.
Wow, that's a long road to a kiss, but I guess.
Yeah.
Why would you bring a girl down to a place where she's going to be scared?
Well, because they're going to hug on them. The girl's going to get scared. They're going to hug on
he's going to be the hero. I see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it a truth or dare kind of thing? Is that what's going on there?
He looks like a goat. It's really a pretty grisly story. If you remember.
Yeah, it is.
It sounds like a long road to a bad teenage slasher movie.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
They could have made one out of it instead of that idiotic Blair Witch.
Yeah, no. They laughed all the way to the bank, that's for sure.
Yeah, they did.
Oh, no kidding. I mean, that was... So most of these were just articles that you picked up from newspapers or wherever, and...
I had always collected these very, weird little stories. Even when I was a newspaper guy, I would come in the morning and I would rip it was the UPI wire back then, and United Press International, they'd always have 3 strange stories every day, and I would just put them aside, and they were just odd stuff, and I kept some of those, and then I went to work for Turner Broadcasting for their website called Conspiratorium. And my job really was just to come up with 10 ideas, 10 photo captions, and then they would match it to the pictures, and I wouldn't have to do any work. And it was a nice paycheck for the little work I did. But in doing that, I went through hundreds of stuff. I'd Google stuff, I knew stuff, I just for the hell of it, look, the 10 craziest, haunted houses in New Hampshire and pick one, stuff like that.
So you were Kolchak.
I was Kolchak, yes, without the hat. I would never wear that.
So did you actually believe, both you and Juan Juan, I mean, you're doing this show and you have all this paranormal stuff coming on there. How much of it do you actually just take with a grain of salt, or do you actually believe in the paranormal?
Well, I think we're skeptics sometimes because some of the stories that we may come across have the look and feel of being BS. So we want to make sure we kind of vet those things before we, one, get a guest on the air to talk about it, and two, we don't like to, I think, broadcast something that's absolutely crapola, right, Mac?
Yes, for sure. It's a fine balance, I'll tell you that, because sometimes we have guests on who, we had a flat Earth guy on a couple times, and
yes,
and he and we don't believe in the flat Earth. At least I don't. Do you want one?
No, I don't.
No. And but he's one of the most entertaining guests to have on the show. He's a good guy, and he's just a really entertaining guest. But on the other hand, I've been in interviews where where the guest accused me of being a Mossad agent because I thought 2 airplanes flew into the towers and that they weren't blown up from within.
Oh no!
Right. So it runs the range. But as Juan said, and a lot of times, we do have new guests every once in a while, but we do have like this roster of about, I don't know, 30 people. Would you say
30
Juan?
regulars that we can count on. We
can count on. Just go back to them. You know that they're always going to be good, and they get the show, and we know them. We trust them that they're not going to come out with really crazy stuff.
And we have fun with the content too. It's not like
yes.
Going to school. It's not like you have to take notes and then there's Q&A afterwards. It's
high
energy. Like the flat Earth guy. We don't let his flat Earthness
get in the way.
Cloud
get in the way. Yes.
His expertness on other things.
I noticed that you challenge him too.
Yeah. Coco does when he's on, and Commander Cobra is our other co-host, and he's like a human GI Joe, and with a computer in his head, and he's the guy who will talk to the flat Earth guy, and we just kind of sit back and listen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we do that.
But the flat Earth guy, I wish I could remember his name now. He's an old radio guy, Now this is his thing. Let's be frank, It could be, a million other things, but he chose flat Earth. He got a book published. He goes around, he just talks about it, and he's on the radio, and he's a cool guy. But whatever Coco we would say stuff like, but when like when the space station orbits the Earth. What is that? Oh, it's an illusion, caused by the heating of the atmosphere. And it sounds like, maybe he's got something going here. Who knows, So that's just an entertaining guest. That's kind of like the people we like in a way.
So did he ever say? Go ahead, Jeff.
I was just going to say, flat earthers actually try to be musicians so they can claim a discography.
What? Say that again. I'm sorry.
It was a long way for a bad joke.
Okay, all right. I wish I had my rim shot here. Where is it?
No.
So did he ever say how far you have to go before you actually fall off?
As far as a cat can push things off of. Because if the Earth is flat, then cats would have pushed everything off by now.
And where would it have gone, And then we're saying, what's the bottom? Well, that's Antarctica. And the funny thing is that 2 days later, he posted something on his website, I guess, saying he had been on the show, and a listener, sent it to me. Or actually, as a No Belly Button Man sent it to me, and the opening paragraph is, we in the Flat Earth Society have correspondents all around the globe.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. So there you go.
But he doesn't say he's a member of the Flat Earth Society.
No, he doesn't. He's
adamant about it.
Yeah, he's published a lot, like in their newsletters and stuff like that. But he's selling a book, just like I was selling a book. I mean, he's, and it's I think it's entertaining. But then again, there are other people who have tried to come on, or I talked in the earlier incarnations of the show, who, they claim they were kidnapped by the military and sexually assaulted by aliens in a base in Nevada, and then taken on a rocket ship, brought to the moon, where she became a slave laborer. Yeah. And I asked her, what were they doing? What were they making you do up there, slaving? And and no one had ever asked her the question before. She said, moving boxes. Right?
What, they have UPS up there?
Well, it sounds like Amazon more, right? in light gravity. But I mean, wow. That's insanity. And you could have people like that on, and I hope I'm not insulting your audience, but you can have people like that on forever, and it is entertaining. I'd listen to it, but it doesn't further, what we're trying to get at, which is what are UFOs and what's their connection to the military, to the paranormal, to the whole big, bunch of graves.
Right. We'd like to move the discussion to come up with more concrete evidence somewhere, somehow, where we can prove some of these points, rather than being a big mystery all the time.
Right.
Sure.
Right.
But surely both of you must have had some sort of experience which got you into the paranormal to begin with.
Go, take it away, Mac, about your experiences.
That means he's going to get a beer, folks. I've never really had an experience. It's strange because, and we talk about this on the show a lot too, is that, I firmly believe there are some people who are kind of like destined to see UFOs, and more than once. And there are people who are destined never to see them. And I think I'm in the category of never seeing one. I think in a way I'm looking for them too often, and I think the majority of cases, people aren't looking for UFOs, they're just there. And that helps convince them that this is something weird. I will tell you, though, that we were down on the beach once and at night, and the beach is where we are. It's actually one big marsh on the back of the beach at the sand dunes, and we could see these like two sets of lights coming right at us, blinking, amber lights, red, everything that you would think a UFO sighting would be. And I said to Lois Lane, I said, this is it. We're going to see one, too. And they went over us, and there were medevac helicopters going to the hospital in town. And if they had been like a football field away from us, I would have said, yep, we saw 2 UFOs over the marsh. It in our minds, it couldn't have been anything else. So I think I've come that close. I'm never going to come that close again.
Well, we have so many people, guests or stories that say, well, we saw these things, they were quiet and they were very fast, and just like some of the sightings from our military pilots, faster than the speed of anything that they can even imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And no visible signs of propulsion, no smoke, just boom, gone here and then gone. There's too many stories like that.
Right.
You can't just rule them all out. And there's stories from people who have lots of experience in their field, whether it be military or whatever. And they're not schmucks. And there's multiple sightings by multiple people at the same time. We try and, research those things, get some data on that. I'm really hoping that there'd be some press releases from the big reveal that's coming out this month, that says, we've interviewed a few pilots from a few years ago, and they all had corroborating stories, but we still don't think it was really anything. And it's all going to come down to that. We really don't think it was anything. It was their imagination. It was everybody's imagination at the same time.
But they're going to have to say in this leaked document, it wasn't very long, I guess. I mean, they do say, they do admit, or they seem to admit for the first time, that there's something there. Now, it can't be every UFO sighting ever, but, we go by the rule of thumb. 90% of it is BS, 10% are really good, hardcore UFO sightings. And obviously these Navy videos are hardcore sightings, and they're, for some reason, that's another thing. I don't understand why the Navy isn't taking account of this, because historically they've been the most tight-lipped of all the military services when it comes to UFOs. So it's very odd that they're the ones kind of leading the charge, But I just think that, they had to say something, and that, that's a very well crafted. It's almost like a lawyerly statement.
Right.
They're not from outer space, but we don't know what they are.
Don't know.
Sure. Well, I mean, did you saw the recent photographs where they saw the sphere-like UFO?
Yes.
And what's interesting about it is that it's over water, and people that are seeing it are on naval ships and not that close to shore. So there's no light pollution. There's probably very little commercial traffic. Lends a lot more credence to the idea.
They're certainly, in my opinion, they're certainly doing things to get our attention. Lately.
Yeah.
Lately.
I wish they'd drop leaflets or something. Look, it's hard to say. It's funny to say, but look at it from their point of view. They obviously are of some higher technology that we probably can't even understand, and they know how to turn it on and turn it off. And if they show up, they know millions of people are going to see them. Look at the Hudson Valley sightings. Literally tens of thousands of people that see these, these boomerangs going down the Hudson River every night. They don't hide from us. People think that they hide from us. They don't. And I think just lately with these, I know these videos are old, but it kind of spurred to bring out new ones. And then this whole incident of those destroyers off of San Diego, which we were just talking about. They're like 100 miles out to sea. Who's controlling those things? Who can control something from 100 miles away, a drone, unless it's, I don't think we could even do that. I don't think the Russians, Chinese, I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the big question that a lot of people have when they read the stories, see it on the news and then discuss it online, is, are these aliens benevolent? Are they our friends, or they're here to bust us around a little bit? We hope that they're our friends. We hope that they're on our side. When you read Mack's book, UFOs in Wartime, and the Foo Fighters, Mack, correct me if I'm wrong, but aren't they all on our side, on the Allies' side for the most part?
Well, they're all neutral. There's
they're neutral. Okay.
Yeah, only like one or two instances where any quote unquote Foo Fighter in World War II, fired on anything. They're always just there observing, which kind of one of the ideas in that book is that they might be time travelers from our own, from a million years in our future, people coming back to see history being made, time tourists type thing. But then you say, well, how come there wasn't 2 million people at the crucifixion? How come there isn't 5 million people at a Shakespeare play?
Right.
And then you get into the whole multi-universe where there's just universes, individual universes upon universe. So, who knows? I still think it's some kind of something happening that we cannot understand, just like an animal can't understand how a car runs.
And that's probably why it's not been released to us on anything.
What would they need from us?
Yeah.
I could see them looking in on us at like a zoo, but I think what do we have on this earth that they're flying around like crazy like that?
They just keep checking on the technology that we keep developing.
Yeah, that makes sense. It does.
Okay, I got a question from the chat room from Sherry, and she wants to know, what if there is a Federation prime directive to not interfere in our affairs?
Go ahead, Juan.
That'd be nice.
I agree. That would be nice.
I'd like to, maybe there's a press release on that. Let's research that one. That's pretty good.
That'd be funny.
Yeah.
Sorry, Columbus said, well, we actually came upon a prime directive from the Venusians. Wow, I don't know. I would love for stuff like that to happen. I would.
Yeah.
Growing up, man, all I read was science fiction, and all those, they're still in my head. All that kind of stuff, Robert Heinlein stuff, Isaac Asimov stuff, always had that kind of slant to it.
Well, we've
I love
had
those kind of.
We've had
well,
all
that
kinds.
supposes alien ethics, right?
Well, yeah, we assume that they won't have any, though. That's the funny thing, you know. We assume that they're going to just come in and kill us all or something.
I don't think. I mean, if they was going to do that, that had already happened.
But it seems that way, yeah.
A long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Could they have already destroyed a civilization and we just don't know about it because all the evidence is gone?
Mm-hmm. Well, there is a lot of evidence that something on this Earth happened very dramatically around 12,000 years ago. And I had to research a book having to do with this. And I don't know if you remember the guy who wrote a book about how he proved that the Sphinx was actually at one time covered in ocean water, and that it was much, much, much older than, it was like 15,000 years old and not 6. And there's a guy named Graham Hancock, I think his name is, and he goes around all the different things that happened, that seemed to happen in the world around there. And, you know, one of the theories is that there was really a thriving civilization on Earth, and something ended it. And we are the survivors, as you said, we are.
We rose from the ashes.
We rose from the ashes.
Wow.
It sounds like history keeps repeating itself, like Atlantis. You know,
Right.
once it was destroyed, then civilization kind of, leveled out for the longest time, and we couldn't figure out how to do things. And then all of a sudden it built up again, and then suddenly the pyramids were, being built and everything else. You kind of have to wonder and scratch your head. Well, why does knowledge get lost, and then all of a sudden, bing, somebody thinks of it again?
Yeah,
I think it's pretty amazing how the pyramids got built in the first place.
Right.
And some of these other geological phenomena that we discussed on the show on the Mack Maloney Military X-Files.
Like the
how the
up in the Andes and stuff. You know,
how the heck did these things form? We can't even recreate them. Who built them and how? We can't even recreate them with modern construction techniques.
Yeah.
It's 400-ton slabs, 5 miles up on an Indian mountain.
Well,
big block.
Let's put some rollers down and push it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
They'd still be doing it. You know. That stuff is. I think that is lost history. Something, really
Something
odd
weird.
going on there.
Well, they're still finding things on Earth today. I mean, in the jungles and stuff like that. It's been buried for centuries. And
Yeah. I also think, I always wonder what's under Antarctica, because it wasn't always like the South Pole,
Right.
No.
But it's buried in a lot of ice now.
Yep.
But what was going on there?
Oh, gosh, as soon as you said that, the first thing that came to my mind was in the one Ice Age film, the animated one,
Yes.
where they go under the ice, and Sid is walking along, and then suddenly you see this spaceship stuck in the ice.
Yeah, cool.
I'm thinking, is that a possibility that something is there?
Well, they've had the perfect covering for millions of years, but I just know at one point it wasn't like a South Pole. And then there's another thing. I don't know if you ever heard of the Admiral's map. You hear that? It's literally a map of Antarctica, South America, and South Africa, like the Southern Hemisphere. But it was created in 1400 or something. But when you look at it, you say the only way they could have done this is looking down.
Looking down. I remember seeing that on a show one time.
Admiral Tias map or something, and it's like, well, where'd that come from?
Yeah, and it's very accurate too.
Yeah, that's what's weird.
That's what's scary. It's like, how in the world were they able to get all of the exact dimensions and everything of all these continents, unless they were from the air?
I mean, all these inlets and miles of rivers and stuff that they got accurate. How would you know? You couldn't have sailed it in a lifetime. You couldn't have sealed all the ins and outs in that map. So, I don't know. How'd that happen?
There's too many stories where we inject what our knowledge is about technology and how we use it and try to apply it to these whacked out stories, and we go, wait, we can't do it with our tools. It's got to be something else that we don't know about. Because, we think that we have the most brilliant minds on this planet, regardless of what country they're from. Anything that's ever been discovered, I think we've probably discovered it, and we're starting to work on other planets, but we haven't really investigated what's going on in the oceans and maybe subterranean.
Right.
There's probably a lot of stuff locked up there, and we just haven't dug deep enough.
Look for it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who knows? Maybe that's where UFOs are. There's a lot of people who believe that UFOs are really USOs. You know, when you think about it, it would be a great place to hide.
Well, if they can fly in space, who says they can't fly underwater?
Well, they just did a big thing on Josh Gates' show about USOs having bases just off Catalina Island here.
Oh yeah, Catalina Island is like infamous for for UFOs. We have a guy on named Tony Cisneros, and he does UFO tours, and his favorite place to go is Catalina Island because I guess when you go out there, no matter when you go out there, you're going to see something happening. You know, it's a very kind of odd place. I always wanted to go there.
Wow.
Wait, there are UFO tours?
UFO tours, yes.
Really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yep. Alp Ventures. Tony Cisneros.
Well,
and
okay.
he's putting one together. Now that things are kind of on the go again, but he's kind of a frequent guest on our show, and he's a really good guy.
So what are your thoughts on Skinwalker Ranch? Because it seems to be both military and UFO related.
Go ahead, Juan.
I think I hit it.
I don't really have a good thought on it. I think we think that it's a lot of bunk going on there.
I agree with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question for one or both of you. When it comes to all of the USOs, because of all the satellites that we have orbiting the Earth right now, and the fact that these satellites are so sensitive that they can actually pick up on hidden structures and everything under even jungle canopies, and they're able to even see huge fish under the ocean, like big, huge, enormous congregations, I can't think of the word, of fish under the oceans and everything. Why isn't that our satellites haven't picked up on some of these things that are supposedly coming up out of the water, especially at like Catalina? Why aren't our satellites picking these things up? Or are they, and we're just not being told about it?
Well, I think it's radar imaging satellites. That's what they do. They can actually, throw radar signals into the ground from outer space and see what is underground. And I know that they do work in the ocean, but I don't know what the depth of something like that is. And another thing, and then I'll let Juan talk, so he won't complain. But another thing too is that the idea of UFOs, going in and out of the ocean all the time. They don't talk about it very much, but the U.S. Navy has all the oceans of the world basically under mic, okay? There are microphones spread all over every ocean, and they can pick up, and Juan knows this more than me, they can pick up any noise anywhere. That's why when that Indonesia flight crashed there a few years ago, and it was like a big mystery, I kept thinking, well, why doesn't the Navy just, see where there was a big splash on this huge network they have, and they never did, so who knows why, but if UFOs are going in and out of the ocean all the time, they would certainly be picked up on these microphones.
Yeah, we would have an audio signature of that recorded a long time ago, or many audio signatures, and you match them up and you say, okay, these don't match any kind of surface or subsurface vessel that we know of. So what the heck is it? And we have these cables underneath. Actually, they're laid down on the floor of the sea too, and with tons of these little microphones. I forget back in the 60s and 70s, they called it Sonus something or other.
Yeah, right. It had a really weird name, right?
I forget I forget the name of it now. I should know it, but I forget what it is. And they've been laying it down there forever and tracking ships of all sorts all the time.
All the time, yeah.
And
the antenna in Michigan somewhere, there's some gigantic antenna or something. And there's supposedly an antenna for it at that place in the middle of Australia there, that very strange secret place that I wrote about, and I can't remember its name now. But yeah, this so if you want to believe them, and why not? They basically hear everything that's going in the seas around the ocean. I mean, they've recorded, the famous bloops of like 1960 or something, 60s, late 70s, like these noises that they cannot identify. You can go on YouTube and get them. And they're very strange. They're like really way out, and that's how they pick these things up. In the middle of the South Atlantic Ocean and stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
so I mean, if they're I'm sorry, Barbara.
How big advances have there been made in sonar? I mean, surely that there's enough ships out there that can actually track some of this stuff that is underwater.
I agree. I mean, who knows? But I guess if they're smart enough to be able to, fly in and out of the ocean, which a couple of those videos actually show them going into the ocean.
And then disappearing someplace.
Yeah, and then disappearing, and just that you brought that up real quick, and I'm going to let Juan talk after this, but we have a lot of stories where, I talked about a lot of stories where people will see something flying weird. The ghost rockets of Sweden is a very good example, where lots of people saw these rockets, and they more resembled, our cruise missiles of these days than anything else, but this is back in '46. And lots of people saw them go into lakes in Sweden, Finland, and Norway. And up there, the lakes are crystal clear. There's no vegetation on the bottom because it's always so cold. So divers would actually go in the lakes and there'd be nothing there. Yet, 100 people saw this thing go in and splash in the works. So maybe they have found a way, as you just said, to once they hit the water, they disappear.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be some type of stealth technology? The same way that, they have, almost like mirrors. And even during World War I, they used to paint aircraft, from below. They would paint them blue underneath and kind of a brownish or whatever above as their own stealth. I can't imagine why they wouldn't be able to figure out doing the same thing. Just make their craft look like the surrounding water.
Yeah. I try and think that they're trying not to be too complicated, that they can just make themselves invisible, make themselves stealth
That's all.
At will, and they make themselves visible when they feel like it, just to piss us off, just to say, okay, here we are, like it or lump it.
They're screwing with us.
Yeah.
That's it. Just nah.
Well,
now,
and especially around military installations, Mac, why are they so popular around military installations to the point where they can disable missile launing silos?
Like yeah. I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but there's definitely there's definitely more UFO sightings around usually secret military bases and in wartime. There's no doubt about it. The reason why, who knows? Now, a lot of strange stuff being seen flying around the secret Air Force base doesn't have to be little green men from Mars, because if it's secret, they're probably flying exotic stuff anyway.
Right.
But it also goes above and beyond that, and also, UFOs like got to the point where they made the first plutonium for the first atomic bombs at a place, Sanford Laboratories. I think it's up in Washington, Oregon, or someplace. And as soon as that happened, this place was like besieged by UFOs for months. Why? Why? Unless, as you say, someone is kind of looking in on us. I mean, if that isn't sending a message, what is? And shutting down these ICBMs temporarily and redirecting the targeting and stuff. If that is them sending a message, what is it?
Well, you have to figure that with some of the leaders that we have and some of the stuff that they come up with, I mean, they're totally mixed up. I mean, in your book here, I was just laughing at some of the stuff that you had in here, like bad military ideas.
Yeah,
Many of those.
And I was wondering, who are the idiots that come up with this atomic hand grenades? I mean, you can't throw it far enough without blowing yourself up.
I agree.
Yeah, and nuking the moon. You know, what are they going to get out of that?
Nuking the moon.
Yeah.
Nuking the moon. I mean, that is the craziest story ever. And it's our friend Carl Sagan, who was the guy who actually tried to get the government to nuke the moon, send a nuclear bomb up to the moon and blow it up. This is after Sputnik, and the military didn't know what else to do to raise our morale, in quotes. So they were going to explode a nuke on the moon, and they're going to do it so it exploded when the moon was facing Russia, and then we would see the mushroom cloud when it came over to our side. Okay, so they're playing this. You know, no thought ever given to maybe the ecological damage that you might do to the moon because you've dropped a nuke on it for no reason. And Carl Sagan was a young scientist, and he was a proponent of this. And finally, and you don't get to say this too often, wiser heads in the Pentagon said, "Why don't we just go to the moon? It's going to be simpler to go send guys up there than send a nuke up there." Right. And that's what started the Apollo program.
Wow. Oh, now that you brought up the Apollo program, you have in one of your stories, Mac, and this is probably one of my favorites. And the reason that I'm saying this is that it's called The Right Stuff Ghost. And the reason that it's my favorite is that the person that is in this story, I was very fortunate to have met him and Dr. Carl Sagan at a symposium in Washington, D.C., put on by the Planetary Society for the anniversary of the Apollo-Soyuz mission. And this story just really touched me. Now, because both of you are not all that much interested in the paranormal, but this one really intrigued me and really caught my interest. So, Matt, could you tell me about this?
Well, it was, I'm trying to, I'll preserve the punchline. There's a private airport in California, it might be even John Wayne Airport or whatever, and it's basically private airplanes. And so they have rules, like you can't land before 8 a.m. on a Sunday, you can't take off, after 7 p.m. on a Sunday. They want to keep things quiet. So, and if you break the rules, basically what will happen is they'll kind of write you up and send you a warning and please don't do this again, so on. So, and obviously a lot of rich people keep their aircraft there. So anyway, one Sunday morning, this plane was seen over this airport, and it was before 8 a.m. and it was doing aerobatics, and it was a very kind of odd little racing plane, and many people saw it, and so many people saw it that they were able to take down the tail number, and they reported it, and so the computer punches out this complaint, this warning, sends it to the pilot, who happens to live in Texas, probably Houston, and the owner was Deke Slayton, the astronaut, and he had died that morning.
Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get the story right?
Yes, sir, you did, and I was very fortunate to have met him at that same symposium.
And freaked his family out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it did. He was a very, very pleasant, gracious man. And Carl Sagan, I couldn't say enough about him.
Really?
Yeah, he was, out of all the people that I've met, he was probably my favorite.
He was going to blow up the moon, though.
Well, yeah, I didn't know that at the time, but he was still a very, very gracious man. Very pleasant, loved his fans, loved to talk. Nice man.
Yeah.
Well, you get these astrophysicists, and they do strange things. Blow up the moon. You get people like Brian May, who's lead guitarist for Queen, or music theory, and he's a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
He got his doctorate. Is that right?
He got his doctorate after Queen broke up. In astrophysicists.
He actually is was one of the consultants on the Mars project for the Endeavour. So yeah, he's actively working with NASA.
Yeah. He's an interesting guy. And just he lived the rock star life. It just is a little bit of speed bump on the way to getting his doctorate in astrophysics. As a rock star for 30 years. Sorry.
Yeah.
But he also built his own guitars too. Do you know that one? He built all his own guitars.
Really? Wow. Guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, that was great.
I wonder if he hangs out with the coach of the Patriots.
Why would he do that?
No.
They're both rocket scientists.
Oh, jeez. Wow, really?
True.
Sorry.
I like the one you had in the book, No Fred and Wilma, Looking Back in Time.
No Fred, Wilma.
Yeah, No Fred and Wilma. Like Fred Flintstone.
That's a great title.
Yeah.
We just had the best discussion last night regarding the Flintstones and the crossover with the Jetsons.
Mm-hmm.
And that little tiny alien, I think it's Gizmo.
Yes.
Gizmo, yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
we could never remember that whole thing. And, we were all thinking, what if that cartoon was actually accurate? And that's how we came out of the Stone Age.
As Fred and Wilma?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, never say never, I guess. I always think it'd be hard on their feet, though, with those cars. You got to start the car. You have no shoes on, and you got to get it rolling.
Well, if anybody's ever driven a Volkswagen, they know exactly.
So, yeah. Well, that's right. I did have a Volkswagen. I had to power that by my feet every once in a while, too.
Actually, the alien in Flintstones was the Great Gazoo.
It's Gazoo.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gazoo, yeah.
Okay, but you know what that was from? I mean, did you ever read Superman comic books?
Yeah, I don't remember
Anyone?
Gazoo.
No, I know
Yeah.
the comic.
Yeah.
They had a guy named Mr. Mixwise Zuckelperk, and he
It's
would,
like Mixtaplex or something.
yeah, he
Yeah,
would
right
show
on my
up
big-
and
You get rid of him by making him say his name backwards.
All
that's right. How
consonants.
you get rid of him, right? Yeah. Yeah.
All consonants.
Yeah. Yeah, and everyone, it was actually brilliant because everyone had their own different pronunciation of it, which was the whole idea. But I mean, the Flintstones, that's how they came up with that guy.
Wow. You had one called Atomically Unlucky, and there was a Japanese officer who was on leave in Hiroshima, I guess it was.
Right, yes.
And
He was
when the bomb went off.
right. He was an engineer for a naval construction company. And he was in Hiroshima on business when they dropped the bomb. And he survived, made his way out of the city, and just vowed to get back home. He did. His bad luck was he lived in Nagasaki, and as soon as he got there, they dropped the bomb there. So he's the only guy who survived both bomb drops. And he lived to, I think, 93.
93, I think it was.
Okay, so this is a lucky man.
Yeah. I thought that was real interesting.
Well, he turned lucky, I should say. He had some bad luck back in the war.
Wow.
It's hard to believe that he didn't suffer some sort of radiation.
Yeah, really.
Well, he got injured in the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, he was injured in the first one, right? Yeah. But he somehow made his way to Nagasaki, which was only like 3 days later, I think, or 3 or 4 days later.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We had a trivia question on the other night. How many A bombs did the U.S. have after they dropped the 2 on Japan?
None.
None. Yeah, none.
No, they didn't have any.
What would they have done? If they had, you know what I mean? Oh, we don't have any more. Sorry.
Didn't we lose one off the coast of Georgia, too?
Yeah, not during the war, though. No.
Not during the war, yeah.
Oh. Yeah, there was an airplane crashed off of Georgia that had nuclear weapons still in it back in the 50s. And I don't know if they ever got them back or not, but...
No, I think they're still down there.
Broken Arrow, yeah.
I always like the line in that movie where he says, I don't know what's concerning that you lost a nuclear weapon, that you have a code name that it could happen.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's, I don't know, not to scare everyone, but one thing I was reading a little while ago is that when Russia broke up, Soviet Union broke up, they had 8 nuclear bombs in suitcases that could carry in a suitcase, and I think 5 of them went missing.
Oh my God.
Okay,
Oh,
so
it must have flown Delta.
and I'm sure they're trying to get them back and everything, but there's been rumors who has them. That Hezbollah characters have them or whatever, and
Yeah, they were sold to a terrorist organization a long time ago, and they're just kind of waiting for the right moment to.
Well, I think they let us know that if you screw around, we're going to blow up one of these things, and that's what I think that maybe you have to really proceed with caution when stuff like this goes wrong around the world. You gotta realize what your enemy is capable of. If they get a suitcase A-bomb, you better know it and try to get it back.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen the film Wrong is Right?
No.
It's a kind of a espionage thriller where they had nuclear bombs in suitcases, and at the end, it seems like they've saved us because they were up on top of the World Trade Center and they were recovered, and it gave an excuse to attack this Gaddafi-like dictator who still had the bombs, which turned out it was this weird dark satire of the whole film, and that it was just a red flag so they could attack this country.
Right, yeah. Well, sounds like a good plot.
That looks good. Sean Connery's in it.
Yeah.
Is he
Right?
really? Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
I think. Anyway,
I
Now you
believe so.
You got a chapter in there about secret bases around the world. There's some that you had in here that I'd never even heard of. Is it just? I mean,
I think that's
They're secret. Yeah.
it's because they're secret.
Yeah, well, I mean, do we know
Very
that they're
hot
there
research.
or just suspect it?
Actually, it's several different ways. If you dig deep enough, you'll find things that you could declare to be a secret base. It just takes a little time. Also, we have a guest frequently on our show. He'll love that I'm plugging him, Agent X, who worked for Army Counterintelligence, and then he went to work for the agency that works for the agency, is how we introduced him on the show. So he knew some background stuff. So what I did with that book was every time I'd write a chapter or two, I'd send it to him. And I'd say, don't tell me any secrets, but just tell me if I'm, off compass here, And, he straightened me out a few times. You can imagine how that was Juan, right?
Right.
And
We actually have to disavow really knowing this guy. When we introduce
we
him
couldn't
to the
use
show.
his name or anything, And but he was always kind of looking over my shoulder just to make sure that, I wasn't, just too far afield in claiming these things. But there were places. Pine Gap is the place I was trying to think of in Australia. It's literally in the center of Australia.
Right.
And this huge base, NSA base for sure, intercepting emails from all over the world. Some kind of space communication thing going on there. A lot of it is inside this mountain, and people see UFOs there all the time. In fact, the scene from Close Encounters, where at the very end when they go up that mountain and the spaceship comes down and everything, that's basically what people see. It's at Pine Gap. There's another place called in Russia called Kapustin Yar, and what that is it's a combination Area 51 in Cape Canaveral. So they test a lot of their secret weapons there, but they also launch satellites and astronauts from there occasionally. And there was a UFO sighting over there in I think in the 70s that everyone in this base saw it hovering over this nuclear storage facility, and many, I think 35 people were interviewed after it happened. Now, interviewed by the KGB. Okay, now you're not going to lie to the KGB.
Right. They know how to interview people.
Right. So, and they all told the same story. This thing hovered over the nuclear, storage facilities and did this and that, and then took off, where you couldn't see it. All of a sudden, it was gone. That type of thing. And it had so much evidence that one of the Rockefellers actually paid to have a study done on it, and it came to these conclusions. And Rockefeller gave it to Clinton, and basically Clinton said, "Okay, I'll read it," and that was that. But that's how seriously he took it. And that's up until that time, Kapustin was supposed to be a secret place. There were probably 8 candidates in England to be the British Area 51. We arrived at a place called Redlow Manor, which they used to build. It's a English mansion, just like Downtown Abbey that Juan Juan loves.
Downton Abbey.
But down underneath, they used to build, Hawker Hurricanes and other English fighter planes, and put them on a secret railway, Spitfires, secret railway to London, and then pull them out and fly there. And the Germans never knew about it. So someone said, well, if you're going to be, building secret stuff, this would be the perfect place for it. Plus, to make it even nicer, it's about half a mile away from Stonehenge. So, you put those, you can find, I probably found 15 of them, and they're all kind of interesting stories, I thought. So, but they're secret, but, they're secret like Area 51 is secret. Area 51 is like the most secret place in the world, right? Everyone knows where it is. So.
Right.
Mac, the thing about that book is that all those places are real places that you can look up and read about, and the question is, why are they there? Why are they popular? What is it about it? And then there's a juxtaposition of some of those places with other places.
Right. Yeah.
So when you map out the geological coordinates, it represents like some kind of weird force field.
Yeah, the ley lines is what.
The ley lines, right?
Yeah, ley lines. Very, very odd thing, but if you look at them, you listen to the people, who came up with this, and basically, if you look at England, you can see everything is connected by ley lines. Every old established city, a village, or whatever, they're all connected by ley lines. Mm-hmm. And is this someone's imagination, or is this really something? A lot of people in England think that there's something other than out of the ordinary.
It has to be something real, but something amazing in that the geometrical symmetry is so precise that
right, yeah,
you would have to have really good tools to map that out if you're doing it manually. Okay.
And it goes,
we could go back to the Knights Templar and the Freemasons,
right.
and and they use those lines a lot in where they decide to build their churches, etc. So,
right. Can I tell a quick story about the Knight Templars, really quick?
Yeah.
Oh, please! It's one of my favorite topics.
Okay.
Go.
There's a place, and you've probably heard of this. Okay, there's a place in Scotland called the Falkirk Triangle, and there's 3. It's a triangle made up of 3, large villages, let's say, and in one of them, Bonny Bay, I think it's called, more UFOs are seen there per capita than any place in the world. Okay, and on the lower kind of end of the triangle is this place called Roslyn. Now, Roslyn is where Roslyn Chapel was built, and that's this mysterious chapel that has some connection to the Knights Templar and has carved into its wall things like ears of corn, which Europeans didn't know about, and things that look like DNA code and all this stuff. And basically, it's the basis of Juan Juan's friend Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code. Okay, so they see a lot of UFOs there too, and there's been all kinds of like weird things that have happened there over the years. A 1,000-man Roman legion just like disappeared there. People regularly would see werewolves and things of that nature. Mary Queen of Scots was once quoted saying, "I've never seen the horrors I've seen in Roslyn," or something like that. Okay, fine. So now you have this place, lots of UFOs, lots of strange things happening. Knights Templar were there, and it's one corner of this Falkirk Triangle where everyone sees UFOs all the time. Someone did a study, and they found out that the people in Roslyn win the national lottery way more often than any other citizen in England.
Really?
And that's the part we want to research even more, because we're going to go to that pub.
I want to move.
That's what I was getting ready to say. I'm going to Roslyn.
Buy a ticket there. Yeah.
I mean, how strange is that?
Wow.
How strange is that? It can't be a coincidence. There's got to be something going there. As you're saying, the Knights Templars were there into the ley lines. Everything they did was kind of like perfectly constructed, to leave something behind and that kind of stuff. Very odd.
And the triangles too. I mean, we were talking before about Oak Island and the triangle there that was built from a swamp area. And you're talking about triangles in Scotland, and the triangles at the pyramids, because a lot of what they were into was pretty much esoteric stuff from the Essenes and the ancient Egyptians. So
yeah, strange. Something odd going on there.
Well, I mean, in there, how far back does it go, and where did they learn that knowledge? Because it doesn't seem like it is stuff from an ancient age. This is more like quantum physics level.
Well, a lot of cultures studied the stars and navigated by the stars. Maybe they just didn't just navigate. They actually got this wealth of knowledge from these stars, which are, planets.
You'd have to get a code.
Planets that blew up a long time ago or whatever, and extrapolated knowledge from all of these places and built these amazing geographical structures and these enormous places of worship.
Listen, hey, Juan, I'm writing this down. You just written my next book for me. Thank you.
I mean, I was reading something about birds and how they navigate at night by the stars, and about how light pollution is really affecting sometimes their navigation habits. But there's a lot going on if we're going to be students of anything. Is studying the stars. I'm not saying that it's astrology stuff. It's like the relationship between all those planets that are up there.
Right.
It seems there's a finite not a finite, but infinite resource up there that maybe what the ancient aliens were using.
Well, they knew something we didn't.
There's your tool. I don't know.
Or what is the connection between the Nazca lines and the stars? I often wondered if they were actually mimicking planetary constellations.
Yeah, right.
Astrological.
Yeah. Wow. And an airport. It looks like they built an airport down there too, with all these, animals kind of carved into the limestone. Once again, how do you do it without looking down on it? It doesn't make sense if you're not looking down on it.
Right.
Wow.
Why before all that work?
You have to have that 10,000-foot view of the whole thing.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take our break, be about 6-7 minutes, and we'll be back and continue on all this discussion. Got lots more, and I'll never get through even a fraction of it. So with that, let's see, who's taking us out? Is that
Think hard. That would be me.
Oh, okay.
Jeff always does it.
Also, guys, remember your mics will be live. So it'll be silent for a while, and then Henry will come in like a jump scare. So just wait for that. Anyway, you're listening to the Paranormal View on para-dex.com with your hosts Henry Foister, Ceiling Cat Barbara Duncan, Tabby Cat Cash, and myself, Jeffrey Gould, with tonight's incredible guests, Mack Maloney and Juan Juan. So stay tuned for more of the Paranormal View after the break.
Whether you're listening at home, at work, or anywhere, thanks for making Para-X part of your day. Your source for everything paranormal, Para-X.
And welcome back, everybody, right here to the Paranormal View on the Para-X Radio Network. I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight, those listening here in the chat room and those listening from around the world. We appreciate each one. Tonight we have with us Barbara Duncan.
Hello, everyone.
And speaking of around the world, where do we have listeners at?
Tonight they're coming in from the United States, all over the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, Spain, Belgium, Australia, and Norway.
All right.
Well, Australia too, huh?
Yeah. Large crowd tonight then listening. Okay, and we also have with us Tabby Cat.
How you doing, everybody?
And we got Jeffrey Gould.
Hello.
And we have our great guest tonight. And I wonder who they are. We got Mack Maloney and Juan Juan with us.
Yes, sir. Glad to be here.
I'm glad you guys were able to make it tonight. there's
Okay, big question. Big question. Juan, Downton Abbey versus upstairs, downstairs.
Please.
I didn't.
You
It's
just
funny,
watched half the Earth.
I've been asked that question a lot, and I can't get into upstairs. I've watched upstairs, downstairs, and I kind of like it, but I'm not a big fan of it.
Okay.
Downton Abbey, with all the video that's out there, all the resources, all the things I've subscribed to online, if I can't find anything that's really going to pique my interest before I go to bed, guess what? I'm playing an episode of Downton Abbey. I'm going back through season 2, and the next episode I click on is going to be the Christmas special, an hour and a half.
So you admit it puts you to sleep.
I better have. It's a sedative in one way because the stories have a lot of emotional content. We talk about my box of clean. My fans should have the box of Kleenex ready. Well, I have my box of Kleenex ready because of the drama between Matthew, Mary, and the recently passed Lavinia.
Really? Yeah. What happened? What happened to you?
It's
Wasn't
like unbelievable.
the Christmas episode the one with George Clooney?
George Clooney was in it?
No. What?
Or
no.
maybe he just did it. Maybe he just visited the set.
Yeah.
Maybe. Never in the episode that I know.
Spirit.
Even he was smart about it.
The thing that gets me, though, is Julian Fellows hasn't done anything decent since then. Not even close. And it blows my mind that his stuff has been so stinky compared to anything. Not just compared to his own work in Downton Abbey. Downton Abbey was fantastic.
Can I ask you a question, Juan, about this? Are there any episodes where they get into a UFO and get abducted or anything good?
I wish they did. I'm always waiting for. I'm waiting. They might be doing another movie, and maybe they'll get into.
They did a movie.
They did a movie.
Oh,
they did a movie where the Queen of England visits Downton Abbey.
Yeah.
And,
who else? Okay. That concludes the PBS segment of our show.
It's just a great show.
As a long-term listener of the Mack Maloney Show, I'm always interested in what got Juan interested in Downton Abbey. Because
honestly, I would have rather watched football. Instead, I was watching Downton Abbey now for the last, I don't know, watching that stuff for 15 years or so. Something happened to me physically.
Oh my God!
Maybe an alien invaded me. I don't know.
Now it's sounding good. Good.
I would have been watching, live Van Halen concert or something, but instead I'm watching Downton Abbey, not just once, but like 6 times.
Hey, stop eating the tofu.
6 seasons.
This could be a case of possession.
It could be.
How cool would that be?
There's something about it. There's so many good characters in it, and you talk about character development. They really did a good job with that.
Let me just say this: if there's a devil, inside there, Juan, if you could hear me, please come out on the show. Okay. 6 to 8 Tuesday night.
I must be weird because I have never seen a single episode.
Really?
Seriously, I have never seen a single episode.
I never got into it either, and I'm an Anglophile.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, then start getting into it. There's no time like the present, and it's on Netflix, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
No, if I'm gonna do Netflix, I'm gonna get the last couple of seasons of Lucifer. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that's coming back. Wow. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the last season coming up.
Yeah.
Between Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all the sub-channels underneath Amazon Prime that I've subscribed to, including Mac Reels.
Yes.
I can't find that Heart episode.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It's probably on YouTube.
It goes from season 2, episode 2, like Motley Crue, Led Zeppelin, and then
it's the
some
first
episodes.
As regular listeners to our show know, Juan was a roadie for Heart and had a love affair with Nancy Wilson, the blonde guitarist.
Oh wow, juicy.
Well, he's embellished the story just a little bit, but the love affair part.
He wouldn't do anything like that.
She was teaching me some licks on the guitar.
Oh, wow. Your live show.
I had special seating engagement on the bus with Nancy Wilson.
Okay.
But seriously, I was a local crew union guy for Heart and Cheap Trick for a couple of times, actually. And I was offered a job to go on tour with them.
Wow.
As a real roadie with them to go to Europe and the Scandinavian countries, and I had to leave my day job to do it. And then my wife said, "Don't leave your day job.
Don't leave your day job.
And don't expect to come back to your family." It was kind of like that.
It's a wise woman.
Now you in this book, you have all kinds of different little facts and stuff. You got like in there, like sound does not travel in space.
Yeah, isn't that odd? I never knew that.
So did
Well, come on. You mean Star Wars didn't get it right?
apparently not.
Oh no, I guess not.
And
They are not flawless.
Oh, you didn't even realize in space no one can hear you scream?
Well, that's right. So yeah, right. But there's no noise in space, and I guess it just never dawned on me that, you know.
So how does radio waves go through the space like that? I mean, it's got to be a
radio waves
vacuum.
is different.
Yeah.
They're
Radio
totally
waves
different.
is an electronic kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where sound waves, it has to push air in some fashion.
They create sound.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You create sound, and sound can ride on water. It can ride on air.
And there's
Sound coming out of your speaker is moving air, and that's basically it. But in space, how's that going to work?
See, and what I wonder too is, so if you're up in the space station, nothing makes any noise up there? Or does it make noise because it's pressurized, Wani?
There's air on the space station, so
Yeah,
it
so
would.
it would travel through the air. Yeah, wow, huh?
well, they
Well,
talk.
I've often wondered if the people in outer space aren't using 2 Dixie cups with a piece of fishing wire.
You mean
That's how
NASA?
we used
No,
to talk
that's
to each other all the time.
Listen,
Well, there's
you know,
there's also
Bring
no
in 2 tin
wind
cans.
on the moon.
and so there's no noise on the moon. That's weird.
There's no wind, no noise. And,
No wind, yeah, right. Yeah.
So Amazon wants to put a distribution facility, I think, on Mars, right, or something. I mean, we're gonna populate all these places.
Yeah.
We
oh,
need
yeah.
a distribution center.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to put, the workforce. I wonder what the hourly rate is going to be, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Wow.
there's going to be a Starbucks there, not too
Oh,
long.
has to be.
So
They better find a lot of Martians because they put those on every corner.
Yeah.
I think that would get the alien community rocking and rolling if we had Starbucks.
Starbucks, that would be the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay, good.
Yeah,
tell
that
us
could be the
like-
secret weapon that we.
Instead of that peace and understanding crap, you'd go with Starbucks.
Right. That's not going
interesting.
to fly.
Tell us about someone is buried on the moon.
Oh,
What?
that's the guy from Space Cowboys. That's who's up there.
no, is it? I
Bring
can't
them
Buried on the
remember.
moon.
There's ashes up there, right?
Yeah, someone did bring somebody's ashes up there and scattered them around, right?
Oh, I
Right.
didn't know
I don't
that.
know about
Right.
on the moon. I
Right.
know Gene Roddenberry's ashes went up into either a satellite or
Right.
some
Yep.
of his ashes.
Yep, he did that, and someone did bring somebody's ashes to the moon and spread them around. Maybe the last astronaut there might have done it or something.
I think.
Or it might have been, yeah, or maybe they might have just sent some kind of a probe to the moon, and this person's ashes were in that probe, and they let them out. It might not have been the astronauts, might have been but someone's ashes are up there.
There's a bunch of tardigrades up there now. I know that for a fact. So those
What are
little
they?
tardigrades, those little microscopic
Little water bears.
water
Oh.
bears. Yeah.
Yeah, they say there's a lot of water on the moon. That they said for years. If we could find water on the moon, that's all we need to know. Because if
Well,
you go
no,
up there, make
tardigrades
people.
are called water bears because they look like these little bears. And
Water
they
bears.
survive
Water
in all kinds of environments, so it's possible they're still alive up there.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those things now. Right? Yep, they last for a long time. They can live on meteors going through space, thousands
Right.
of miles an hour. So
Wow.
There's
strange.
Dr. Eugene Shoemaker.
Yeah.
Oh, that's who it was, the comet guy. Yeah,
Cremated remains.
Yeah,
were
Shoemaker
thought-
Levy.
Yep.
Wasn't that the one that the comet was named for?
Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Man, I remember that.
Wow.
That's pretty weird.
So before we get too late in the show, I want to switch gears a little bit because you also were involved with music.
Yes, that's true.
So,
I feel like I have to admit,
Mack's a rock star, big time.
yeah.
I feel like Juan Juan and I are doing a two-man act here, like a comedy act at Giggles or Mr. Yucks or something.
The Yuck Brothers.
The Yuck Brothers. Hey, it's better than mac and cheese.
Oh.
So, yeah, the answer is yes. Yep.
Okay. Can we extrapolate just a little bit on this? Or can you talk about it? I know you have some music out on Amazon.
Right. A short version, basically just been interested in music like really all my life. And I'm not a musician, but, I've always been really interested in it. So I've had opportunities along the line to get together with, I know a lot of musician friends, so, a couple times we were able to kind of put everyone together and we did the first album, which was called Sky Club. That's the name of the album. And then we've been forever working on the second album. That was, the working title is Roswell, but that might change. And that's something we hope is going to come out in some way, shape or form this year. But we've done some really cool videos to it. Tony Cisneros, the same guy who runs the UFO tours, does our music videos. And Juan, you've seen them, right?
They're awesome. They're very well edited, very, very well created, and it's beautiful.
Yeah, they're really good. He can cut on the beat and all that kind of stuff. So, so that's what we're doing. It's kind of a hobby, but we've been one thing I'm most proudest to say is that after we finished the first Sky Club album, a singer-songwriter from Boston who was on the show the other night, Cynthia Smith, came to us and she hired us to produce her album. And we didn't really know what we were doing, but we kind of did that. We played all the music, we did a lot of the lyrics. She did the singing, we produced it, and it came out cool. It was cool to be paid, not a lot of money, but it was cool to be paid to do something like that. So of all the music stuff that I've done so far, that's the one that I like the most, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what else is on the bucket list there? I mean, you got, music.
You don't want to know.
Oh, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's, I don't know what,
He wants to win a Grammy for this, too, by the way. So this next record could be an award winner.
It's my mouthpiece. Thank you. My press agent. But we have, once in a while, we have the people from the show, who did the music on the show. Every 2 or 3 weeks, we do a musical X-Files now. And, we just do it because we talk about music all the time. We probably talk about music more than we talk about UFOs and stuff. When you say what?
Right, yeah.
So,
in our spare time, we talk about music a lot.
We do.
On these various newsletters, and we just talk about music and some of the personalities involved around music.
Yeah, there's always good stories. So we started doing this musical X-Files every 3 weeks or so. And Matt Maley, who's the bass player from Counting Crows, he joins us regularly. We've had like the guy who does the music for the new Star Trek, and whose name is Vic the Wop. Vic the Wop, and he's proud of it.
That's his name.
That's his name. And
Star Trek continues.
Right, yeah, Star Trek
Mr.
continues.
Vic.
Yeah.
And we have the current keyboard player from Kansas on the show.
Yeah, Kansas. Yeah, Tom.
Oh, wow.
Kansas, and they once again, but even though the rock stars, they kind of roll with it. Like, so we always ask 10 top musician jokes. Mm-hmm. Okay, and I don't know why, but we found out that like every other musician joke is about a trombone player. So,
or the drummer.
Or the drummer.
Yeah,
it's almost like the drummers are almost like, that's too cliche. Now you got to pick on the trombone players. And there was one of them, what's the difference between a dead chicken in the road and a dead trombonist in the road? And the answer is there's a far enough chance that the chick was on his way to a gig.
Oh, no.
Ready? Here we go.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
So, how do you get a trombone player off your front porch? You pay him for the pizza.
Oh, ow.
This is the level we were at. Okay, so.
But if you're
it's
really
fun.
looking for content, we do special shows on weird rock star deaths or
Right,
rock
yes.
stars that committed some kind of
Right.
strange death to somebody else.
Yeah,
Wow.
right. You
And
know,
we research that and have a special guest who is a detective,
oh yeah, Jocko Johnson.
Jocko Johnson, who was a very famous New York detective who wraps his brain around some of our
Stuff.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
particularly the Bobby Fuller.
yeah. Bobby Fuller.
Strange
If you remember
Bobby
that
Fuller.
song,
Wow.
I fought the law and the law won.
Right. Right.
He was found dead after drinking 5 gallons of gasoline.
Wow.
Oh my God.
5 gallons
And,
of
and-
gas.
yeah, in his mother's car. And we went through that. And this is one of the musical X-Files, where Jocko joined us, and Raven, who's another co-host, she was kind of like the master of ceremonies of it. But we just that's what happened, and it was a case that just kind of came and went, and but we got into things like what first of all, why? Second of all, why would you drink? Why wouldn't like a half a gallon do? Why would you drink 5 gallons of gasoline? It doesn't make any sense, And then we said, well, maybe they're trying to torch the car. They didn't have, matches or something. Who knows? But yeah, that was one of my musical X-Files, rock and roll murders.
We also have
There's so many of them.
we also have a comment in chat. They say, thank you, Mack and Juan Juan. She's now addicted to Star Trek Continues.
Oh yeah.
Oh, good.
It's really cool. You gotta watch 2 or 3 episodes of it. Basically, it's a YouTube series where they took all the background, all the costumes, everything is exact from the original series, except the actors, and they wrote scripts that bridged the end of the TV show to the beginning of the movies,
Wow.
which had never been done before. And Vic plays Captain Kirk, and I love the guy, but it takes about an episode and a half a year to kind of get him as Kirk, and then he's perfect, and the other people too are good. And then what they're really smart about, he's going to love to unplug them. What they're really smart about is they bring back stars from the old show.
Yeah.
There's
wow.
cameos.
That's
I love it.
Well,
It's
we're not
great.
really doing anything. It's entertaining. So just sit and binge watch it. If you like Star Trek, you won't not like it. So
Wow.
No, one of your other guests you have on regularly is, I think you call him Bill the Station Manager?
Bob the
Bill-
Ghost.
Bob the
About
Ghost.
the ghost. Yeah.
Bob the Ghost.
So you do have a haunted studio.
Yes,
We do. I've seen him. Mac hasn't seen him. When I'm in the studio, we double team our show in this radio station studio. A friend of ours has a cool radio station, Exeter, New Hampshire, and I face the door of our studio, and I see this guy walk by in like a pair of chinos, and I thought, he was into empty the wastebaskets or something. I didn't know who this individual was.
because we're usually there alone.
Yeah, we're by ourselves.
We're there at night.
We have the key. We're alone. We do our show and we leave. We lock up. And Mac and I are doing the show, and I see someone. I'm waving to him. We're on the air. I'm waving to the guy. He walks by real quick, and I thought, okay, he's heading for the back door. I hope he locks it on the way out. And
Which
there was no person that was in the studio that
Right.
night. In fact,
we searched the place.
Yeah, we looked around to see who it was. We took a break. We looked around. There was nobody in there doing anything.
No one, and no doors were open. And the thing is that sometimes when you're doing the show, especially early on the show, you'll hear these bells go off in the background. That's the front door of the radio station open and close. So you can hear someone coming in there. And the way the station's laid out, everything else is locked up by the time we get there. So what this guy was doing there, it was always kind of like this mystery. So about 2 or 3 weeks later, we somehow bring it up on the air out of the blue, and the lights in the studio went out. Remember that?
Yeah.
And we
All of
just
a sudden we had an
freak out
like
on the
half
air.
a second power failure.
Yeah. As soon as he
Wow.
said Bob the
Just
Ghost,
in the studio.
he used to be
Not
the
out in
engineer
the
of
hallway,
the radio
just in the
station.
studio.
Yeah, he used to be the engineer of the radio station for 30 years. Lived next door, dropped dead there, and Bob the Ghost.
It still comes
Yeah.
over
Wow.
ever so often. Wow.
Yeah, and you guys claim that neither one of you are really that much of a believer in the paranormal. So how do you explain that?
Well, I've seen a ghost maybe a couple of times in my life, and I don't really have time to go into the first time I've seen a ghost, but this Bob the Ghost is probably the most real ghost I've ever seen, because I could have sworn I saw this guy, I mean, in the flesh.
Yeah, yeah.
And, many years ago I saw something that was, could have been construed as a ghost, and why not? But that's about it as far as anything paranormal in my life.
Yeah, I think
Which
weird
is
things happen, but I don't, I can't buy every story about every paranormal event, because a lot of it, to be truthful, is just BS.
Yeah, a lot of it is. Yeah. Oh, I want to do a show. Oh, well, you got anything? Oh, yeah, we got this, blah, 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 and nothing. Yeah.
I want to write a book.
Yeah.
That's where a lot of it starts.
Well, now,
self-published books and make up stuff. People buy it. They believe it. They pass it on, and
here's the thing, though.
Floats the waters,
Here's the thing, though. In my house, it's an old house. Nobody died in the house, but the gentleman from Scotland who made knives and lived in this house here in New Hampshire, he got married 3 times, and all his wives died and are buried on the property in a cemetery a little way down the road. Whoa. On our property. So it's kind of weird, but it is what it is in a lot of towns. You have your own family plots,
Mm-hmm.
But we had my daughter and her spouse here just to stay over for about a year or so, as they were looking for a place in the Netherlands. So they were here chilling out, and then during part of the health situation, they were still here for quite a while. And one of them would come down in the kitchen, and she would see an orb almost every time she was in the kitchen, especially at night. She'd say, "Damn it, I saw an orb," and it's like follows me around in the kitchen. And it's like a spot on the wall, but it's also like in midair. I mean, you got to be kidding. Come on, what were you smoking? I go in that kitchen all the time. My wife and I, nobody else sees any orbs or any light. The kitchen doesn't really face the road, but it's conceivable a headlight could shine in there for a brief moment if somebody's coming up the street. Yeah. But nothing like you would call an orb. And she said, she keeps saying that, that's Lisa I'm talking about, Mac, right?
Oh,
yeah.
And she's a straight arrow. She's not she's not out there.
Yeah, she would, if she says something, you believe it.
Yeah.
Well, now, Mac, you had a story in your book there that I thought was kind of neat, where you were in a movie.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
How did that get out there, Mac?
Well,
he's in radio, television, movies, everywhere.
I know.
I'll tell you the story.
But it's funny. So won't you kind of like tell it?
Okay, so again, regular listeners to the show hear me refer every once in a while to Lois Lane, who is my wife, right? So
that's Superman's squeeze.
Well, that's just a coincidence. So, she would. Oh boy, if she ever heard me, she'd really bring me now. But I would say she's photogenic. She's photogenic. Will you agree, Wani?
I agree. Totally agree.
Okay. So
I'm taking many photos of her. But
hey, watch. He's got a shrine in his house. Anyway, that's another show. So we saw this thing in the paper saying that they were looking for extras for a John Travolta movie. And to come down to a nightclub near Fenway Park in Boston where the Red Sox play and go through the process of being an extra. So it was a 4-day thing, and it took me to the 4th day to talk her into just going down. So we go down, and we're in the Avalon nightclub, Juan Juan. Remember that enormous freaking place down there? So in long lines, and you're just going from table to table to table. She's doing it, and I'm just standing there with her. Out of the blue, this guy comes up to me and he gives me a red ticket, like you'd win in a carnival. He says, "Hang on to that. We'll be making an announcement later." And I swear, I thought I won like some door prize or something. What else could it be? So finally, we all go into this big auditorium, And they basically say, anyone who wants to be an extra, just show up at Fenway Park at like 5:30 tomorrow morning, get paid $40, don't wear anything other than summer clothes, and you get a sandwich at noon. And like 90% of the people got walked out. But they did say anyone with a red ticket, stay behind, please. So everyone is gone, and it's myself and 2 African-American women. And at this point, and my wife, and we can't figure out what is going on here. So finally the guy comes up to me and says, we're looking for, people to be in a certain scene, and you fit the profile if you are interested in doing this. He's talking to me. And I'm like, well, how about, so I say, yeah, why not? So anyway, they take my picture, they send it to Hollywood, I get a call, and they're making this movie about, it's called The Civil Action, and John Travolta is in it. And I have to go to this place, which is the old Woburn Insane Asylum, which they've turned into a hazardous waste plant. And John Travolta is this crusading lawyer who finds, like contamination in the water of Woburn, Mass. It's a true story. So, but the scene I was picked for were all these guys who were working undercover in a hazardous waste dump, right? These real villains. So we stayed there for 4 days, and I was in a scene, and it was cold out, but I got lucky because the scene that we were in was, it's basically people moving around barrels and stuff like this of toxic waste. But myself and this other guy get in a truck, close the doors, and pull out into this kind of courtyard where people are working around us. It took us, but we shot about 3 days of it. Lucky for he and I, we could sit in the truck while they were setting stuff up and goof off, listen to the radio, had the heater, and that was it. We got paid $110 a day, lots of food, lots of gambling when you weren't, on the set, and they told me afterwards if I was interested in more parts like that I should contact them. And I said, well, what do you mean, what kind of parts? He goes, bar rooms and prisons. So anyway, so if you watch that movie,
you're typecasted already.
Right? Yeah. Before I even start, if you ever see that movie, there is a truck that like goes by, and it's not even a second. It's not even a second. But to see how a Hollywood movie was made was interesting because I did go to film school as one on those, and
right. You're a graduate of film school, as a matter of fact.
Right, Emerson College, and it was very cool to see it happen. How it happens, and basically what happens is it's like combat. It's like 99% boredom, 1% unbelievable, frantic activity, and that is a lot of hanging around, lots and lots of hanging around. So and they let us sit in the cafeteria. We played cards. And the other thing I'll say about it is the other big surprise to me was John Travolta, because up until then, I just thought he was just another typical Hollywood a-hole, frankly. And but he came around to everybody. He made sure that he met every person on that set, everybody. But it wasn't just that, but you would see him around, walking around and stuff like that. And he was approachable. People started bringing in albums and posters and stuff. And he was just very kind of down to earth. He's the last guy in the world that I would think would be like that. But he was, so maybe I was just starstruck, but he seemed to be a good guy.
Fantastic.
I'd love to have met him. Talk about his performance.
And the title of this, what?
It's called A Civil Action.
A Civil Action.
Like I said, it's no great. It's not an Oscar winner, but he plays this crusading lawyer who kind of got them to stop contaminating the water in this city right outside of Boston. And it's one of those kind of movies, And
I should say, apart from the fact that I'm also an actor, back in high school, I spent a couple of weeks in Woburn.
Oh, really? Yeah.
In Woburn, really?
Yeah, and I always love the fact that it's pronounced Woburn and not spelled that way.
Mm-hmm.
But we, my high school choir, we did. I don't know how our choir director arranged this, but the Woburn choir came to our little town in New Jersey for a week or two, and then we switched, and then we went to Woburn for a couple of weeks, and it was really nice. I literally learned how to roller skate in Woburn, Massachusetts.
Yeah, it's a nice little town. There's nice little towns out there, Waltham, Woburn, towns like that. Everything is See, what's strange is Boston is actually a really small city. People don't look at it that way, but it's less than 500,000 people. But the suburbs that are around it that just don't happen to be in Boston, are really dense and cluttered and stuff. And some of them are nice, and Woburne's nice, like Newton and Waltham and place like that, Wani, right?
Yep, my wife's from Scituate, which is down there, this South Shore area.
Close to Cape, yeah. No. Yeah, we live in a nice part of the world.
And I'm from Cambridge. I'm from the People's Republic of Cambridge.
There you go.
Just about 3 bus stops from Harvard University.
Yeah. If you ever come to Boston, don't miss Harvard Square because you're missing Halloween every day.
And I always ask myself, why am I not smart?
Why am I not smart?
Join the club, Wawan.
I mean, it's Harvard University, and then you walk another half an hour, and you're in front of MIT.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it doesn't get any cooler than that.
A lot of eggheads. A lot of eggheads.
A lot of eggheads.
I used to see Bob Dylan at a local club there called the Club 47, and he did a free concert at the in front of Harvard University at like their
I
their
almost
front
said
lawn.
waiting on tables. But hey, listen, real quick about Harvard Square, not to stomping you there, Wani, but that book we were talking about, Beyond Area 51, where Agent X is looking over my shoulder every time I do a chapter, right?
Right.
It begins with he and I were meeting down Michael's Harborside, if you can believe that. And then it ends with us drinking at that bar that's around the corner from the Orson Welles Theater there in Cambridge. I forget the name. And and I'm asking him, well, you've read the manuscript. What do you think? And he says, yeah, this is good, this is good, this is good. And so then I said to him, okay, because this is what he used to do. I said, if you're going to hide something, what's the best place to hide it? Because this entire book is about hiding stuff, keeping stuff hidden, and then, kind of faking other people to think what you got hidden there isn't really what's hidden there, that kind of stuff. And he said, and so we go out of the bar, we start walking, and we wind up in Harvard Yard, literally Harvard Yard. First time I've ever been there, and I'm sure the last time too. And all the eggheads are around. It looks just like a movie.
Right.
And we sit down.
Hasn't changed a bit.
It hasn't changed a bit. And we sit down, and I ask him that question, and he just kind of looked around, and he goes, here. This is where you hide stuff, in plain sight.
In plain sight.
Exactly.
Yep. You'd be surprised.
Yep.
Because everybody's looking for something that's hidden.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the whole
They're looking for the mystery clue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's right there in front of you.
So did you ever get too close to the truth there, Mac, where they had to push it back?
No, who would push it back?
True.
Yeah, there's no one out there pushing back people like me.
Really?
There's no one out there pushing back anybody. Believe me. Okay.
Really?
Hey,
Okay.
Mac, you want to talk about the guest on the show that we met at a local pub, and she was from China and was visiting her daughter. Her daughter, who was going to Phillips Exeter Academy, very prestigious.
I don't know. This is a very strange story. I don't know if this is.
Is it ready for prime time?
Oh, sure, do it.
Oh my God. Okay.
We got 15 minutes.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'll really make the elevator pitch. I'd known to go out and have a couple of beers after the show, and luckily where the radio station is, we have 4 or 5 different places to pick from. And this one night we were actually going back to Newport, and at the last minute we decided, let's just go down the street to this place called the Thirsty Moose. And it's exactly what you think it is, old wood and stuff, and so we get to know we can say we can get to know the help behind the bar. I think that would be, and so we'd go down there. We're kind of like regulars in a way. So we went down this one night, and we're sitting on the bar, and there's one seat left. The place is crowded. There's one seat left right next to me, and we're watching some game or something. And all of a sudden, there's this small, beautiful Asian woman sitting beside me, and it's like she just appeared. And it's like, oh my God, what's she? And she's leaning over and she's asking me what kind of beer I'm drinking. I'm like, where did she come from?
Right, she's really engaging a conversation with us
right
off
away.
the bat.
Yeah.
I thought she worked for the bar or something.
And she had a flight. It was the first time I'd ever seen a flight of beers. It's like 7 little beers. And yeah, she's drinking that, and we're
It's like
drinking
a craft beer sampler, and she's sampling each one of them and talking about them.
So we get to be friends. Okay, we get to be friends, I think is right. And we invite her on the show. And she's a doctorate in economics and a doctorate in like biosystems or something. She's from China, and her husband is a multimillionaire in China. And her daughter is at Exeter Academy, which is the same town, Exeter, New Hampshire, where the radio station is. And Exeter Academy is like the stepping stone to Harvard and Yale and stuff. It's a very hopeful, finishing school or whatever.
Dan Brown taught English there.
Dan Brown, Juan's best friend.
And personal friends of Dan Brown.
So we we stay in touch with her, and then we say, well, come on into. This is really cutting the long story short. It turned out she was going back to China. Her daughter and her are going back to China. And so we said, please come on the show before you leave. And so she does. And I made it down at the Thirsty Moose. And of all the shows that Juan couldn't come to, he missed that show. All right, which is the funny part of it.
It's awful.
So it's myself and then Pistol Pete, who is the guy who owns this network of radio stations. He was there. He's a great radio guy. And Juan couldn't make it, so I said, "You want to take Juan's spot tonight?" So it's me and Pistol Pete, and this. Should we say her name, Juan?
Nah.
Okay, yeah, just we'll call her Susie. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Susie Chang, let's say.
Okay.
And she was there, and she.
That's close to what her name was.
I know. And she's and she's drunk. She's drunk, and. So anyway, so then who walks in but Agent X, okay? Now, Agent X knows about her because we've told her about him and her to him. So at some point along the line, he suspected by the question she asked us the first night that she might be one of these people who are semi-employed or very loyal to the Chinese government who just kind of sidled up to Americans and asked what's going on, what do they like, and stuff like that. And she did ask us a lot of questions that night. And X, and then later Coco, of course, they said, did they ask you this? Did they ask you that? And it turned out that she did. So, so we get this idea in our head now that she's a Chinese spy, right? So, of course, we want her on the show. So she's in the studio drunk, and X walks in, and X still has a security clearance, and he can't be seen with anyone who even is rumored to be a spy. So he immediately freaks out. I pull him in the studio, and I'm telling him, calm down, just relax. And who's our first guest but this guy from the CIA?
Oh yeah.
And those two got into it on the radio. There's Susie Chang and the CIA, and we just stood back and let them argue. It was unbelievable. She's saying, I'm not a spy, and he said, well, that's what they all say, and it was crazy.
Wow.
It was crazy.
It was epic.
We finally end the show.
He was.
And we go to the Thirsty Moose, and it's Pete and I and X and Susie, and she's all over X. All over X. And it kind of like proved our point, that, of course she found out what he did, and then she was gone. Then she disappeared, right, Juan? Next day.
Right, we tried to get a hold of her for a follow-up, and
nothing.
She didn't return my phone calls. We had her number. I had her email address.
Wow.
And I don't know. She disappeared.
She wouldn't let us drive her home. She wouldn't let us pick her up. At one point she said, I'm going up to this place, this hotel, and she went in the opposite direction. And she didn't know who the Rolling Stones were.
That was weird.
Whoa.
Yeah, there was some things she didn't know, which was odd. But she asked us what we thought of Reagan, and stuff like that. And why don't Americans like to vote? And so
she might have been a lower level spy
story.
If she was anything like that. Because I tell you what, I'm glad she was talking to you more than talking to me. Because if she was talking to me. You know the old line from the movie, we got ways to make you talk. And I go, all you got to do is give me a cup of coffee. And I'm just talking all night long. I would talk about my Navy career is my biggie for me. It's like my Navy career, my computer career.
Yeah.
It's like, I worked on the MX Missile Peacekeeper project, and I did this and that. I'd be all over the place.
folks.
Wow.
Let me explain what Newport, Rhode Island is, if you don't know. Newport, Rhode Island is where they throw out the 1%ers because they don't have enough money. These are the people who have unbelievable mansions. The old money is in Newport, Rhode Island, in yachts the size of ocean liners.
Wow.
Juan spent his time, a good part of the time in the Navy, in Newport, Rhode Island, splicing movies together. Right, Juan?
That's right.
Oh, goodness.
There you
Waiting
go.
for my
With
ship
this
to come
fire.
back from the Med, I'm splicing movies together in the motion picture projection lending library area,
Yeah.
where they issue movies to the fleet. And I'm making sure that every time a movie comes back that the splices are in good shape and that there's not too many of them. If there are too many of them, the film gets rejected and sent back to New York for a fresh copy. That was me. Talking about being in the film industry, that was me. I was literally, for 2 months, waiting for my ship to come back from the Med. And then it came back, and they had no place to go, and I'm commuting from home in Massachusetts to Newport, Rhode Island every day for my job in the Navy.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
To splice movies.
That's one of our stories, and that you can't make that stuff up. It was just so funny. The whole thing was just like so bizarre and funny. And when we do go out, we run into some bizarre and funny situations every once in a while. We're not really sure why.
It happens. It happens. We do too. So.
Yeah. Maybe sometimes people overhear us or whatever, but. Yeah, I don't know, but we do. People come right up to us out of the blue and just start talking about the craziest stuff in the world.
Maybe Mac, if we recorded what we did, if we were wearing a wire.
Oh God. Yes.
And they said, "Can you believe we actually talked about this the other night?" And I was like, play it back, because maybe we're talking out of turn. I don't know. I don't think so. We're talking about
We better get over it real quick. Number one, why would we want evidence like that? Number two,
I know.
Why do we want to make the show even more complicated than it is? It barely gets off the ground every week. We're walking around with undercover microphones. Who knows what happens?
Wow.
It's but I think though it highlights that you have to be careful with your surroundings. Be aware of who you're talking with, and I mean, we didn't target her as saying, "Oh, we don't want to talk to her because she's Chinese." Right. We were just talking to her like we were best friends.
Oh right. Yeah. Wow. No, she really she was very
personable.
She's personable, and I hate to be like this, but she was very attractive too, She was
attractive and very complimentary about the area and about the school and being here in the United States. She has to go back.
Yeah,
she was kind of
very modern Chinese, wealthy woman.
And Agent X was saying that is the exact profile.
That's the profile.
Of a freaking spy.
Yeah.
You idiots.
Wow. Yeah, they get
really good on our case too.
Yeah, they get debriefed when they go back to China. It's not been official or anything.
We didn't tell her anything.
You're back in China, and someone from the government or whoever, the travel bureau, says, "Who did you talk to, and what did they say?" And they're all good little commies, I mean, that's why they do it. And these people do. We know they exist, and the guy from the CIA is screaming into his microphone, "They do exist," which is that was just
right. Yeah,
just unbelievable that those two are on the same show. But as Cobra said, and everything X said, Cobra corroborated it. We didn't even tell him what X said, and he basically told us the same story. And the thing he said to me, and I hope it doesn't sound, racist or anything, but he said, supposing if she was Iranian or Russian, would you have had suspicion then? I said, absolutely. He says, well.
Wow.
Yeah, I would have maybe not been suspicious, but maybe toned it down a little bit.
Something, yeah. It was really strange. The whole thing was pretty strange.
Yeah.
Well, how long have you guys been broadcasting on Para X?
Oh, wow. Barbara, you'd know more than me, I think.
It's been a really long time.
It's 4 years anyway.
Oh, more like 6?
Is it really? Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I watched, I don't know, I don't even know when we began or anything.
Huh.
6 or 7 years, I guess.
6 or 7 years, yeah.
Yeah. Was that the old KGRA show? Was that the KGRA show as well?
I don't believe so. I think we started with your
this,
Military X-Files, yeah.
Okay. Because I was on a show with Race Hobbs, who was on KGRA. And if the government was ever going to shut a radio show down, it would have been that one. So.
Well, guys, our time is running right on by, and
Wow.
I want to thank you guys and everything for taking time to be with us tonight.
Welcome.
A lot of fun.
I want you to give out all your information, where people can listen to you and when you're on ParaX and everything, and then hang on. We'll thank you after we get off the air.
Okay. You go first, Juan.
Okay. You can find us on just about any podcast platform. In fact, all you have to do is Google Mack Maloney's Military X-Files, and you'll get about 15 hits on every platform like Podbean, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher. You name it, we're on it. And all our shows are archived with a clever little synopsis on what the content of the show is. So maybe if you could probably look for the show that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And we do the show every Tuesday night. It's edited. It's cleaned up and freshened up.
Cleaned up.
And goes up on the podcast platforms. What, every Friday?
Yeah, we're about a week behind on every show. We don't.
Yeah.
That's why we don't ever mention any dates or anything like that. We just want to be kind of timeless. But yeah, we're always about a week behind.
All right. Well,
we're not live yet, but maybe
we're not live. We can't. We could never do a live show.
You can do one right here on ParaX.
No. Listen, we're behaving ourselves.
Oh, is that what it is? Oh.
Yeah, my finger would be on the
the thumb
button.
Yeah.
Yeah,
all right. Well,
I don't know. I'd like to try it, Mac.
Oh, okay.
There you
All right.
go.
Let's make the show even more complex. I just want to say though that we had a good time, and we have a good time in the show, and our co-host is Cobra and Switchblade Steve and Raven, Favorite Good Witch, and we just have a lot of a rotating cast of characters on that we like them. They're just our friends. We like spending time with them, and we hope people listening in like it too.
Yep.
All
Mack
right, that
Maloney's
sounds
Military
good.
X-Files,
Well,
available everywhere.
hang
Yeah,
loose.
just go to MackMaloney.com and hit the contact button. MackMaloney.com,
right.
and you'll get into a different world.
All right. Hang
Yeah,
loose.
you get a link to his books too.
Hang loose. We'll talk with you as soon as we get off.
Okay, thank
Tabby,
you.
Thank you.
Who's our guest next week?
Okay, next week we welcome Jonathan and Andy Goldman as they tell us about how they can manage our lives through sound and vibration therapy.
All right. With that, we got to run. We'll see you next week then at the same time. This is Henry Foister.
Barbara Duncan.
Tabby Cat Gash.
And we'll see you next week. So good night, everybody. You've been listening to the Paranormal View on the ParaX Radio Network. Join us again next week at the same time for more of the Paranormal